Thank you for, Thank you for attending week 8. The topic tonight is getting and staying productive. And let me make sure being and staying productive. So let me introduce Jeff. Jeffery Combs is a renowned author, speaker, and success coach and addiction coach who specializes in separating feelings from past events in a process called letting go. Jeff started his business Golden Mastermind Seminars 23 years ago in 1998, and since then has coached over 14,000 clients and 70,000 one-on-one hours. Jeff has published 5 books, including a #1 on Amazon's best-selling list, and has been featured on social media publications, magazines, radio, Fox, ABC, CBS, and Lifetime. Jeff is available for one-on-one coaching as well as keynote speeches, podcast Zooms, and Facebook Lives. I highly endorse Jeff as coach. Jeff has changed my life and many others on this team. So Jeff, take it away with your topic tonight.
Thank you, Desiree. It is my privilege and pleasure to be here with you this evening. This is the last Monday of March. I mean, so what does that mean? It means that already 1/4 of 2022 is almost in the books. So we want to be able to finish this month in production mode. So that's the topic for tonight's 12-week call, week number 8, being and staying. So being is a state of now. Staying is what you perpetuate. So being and staying, so overwhelmed. That's what many people do, is they be and stay overwhelmed. Production has a different meaning when you own your own business. If you are an employee, being productive means you're trading time for dollars. You're getting paid what a job is worth. And you can actually be very productive. And it's not uncommon for people to be more productive for someone else than it is themselves. That's a major contradiction that I have watched and witnessed for 35 plus years of being an entrepreneur, 24 of it as a success addiction coach. So a large percent of the world gets ready to get ready. They get all their ducks in a row. They get trained, they get educated, they get medicated. They buy into the product, they buy into the system. They become a product of the product. They go to the trainings, the workshops, the conventions, the events, the rallies, the Zooms, the trainings, but very few people cross this bridge called production. And it's called the law of the lid. A large percent of the network marketing, direct sales, insurance, real estate, this form of being in a leveraged business, very few people ever break through. It's called the law of the few, but it doesn't mean that you can't. It means that that's the average. And so once you let go of the averages and you let go of being average, then you will be and stay productive. I coach coaches 7 days a week who are encountering how difficult it is to create a coaching lead in today's world. There's a lot of shadow banning on Facebook. There's a lot of shadow banning in Instagram and situations, and it's more challenging to create a lead than any time in my career myself. But it's also that can't keep me from being productive. And what keeps me in business and creating 7 figures a year is the reputation I've built from being productive and staying productive, from content that I continue to write and new content, the daily discipline that I produce, the habits and routine, the system that I operate in daily. Now that takes most of society out of this situation, because if you're not being told what to do, if your production's predicated and directed at being told what to do, being an entrepreneur contradicts that. And that means that there's an incubation process, and it's your responsibility in this process to give yourself permission to be and stay productive on your terms and your time frame. And that's really up to you. You decide what that means. You decide that person you're going to become. So can you achieve 7 figures in a calendar year in your company? Absolutely. Can you achieve 7 figures in a calendar year in the network marketing direct sales industry? Absolutely. Industry's filled with people who have done it on an average called the law of the few, and you can be one of those. Your team alone, there's at least 3 people who have done it that I know of. In 2011, 4 women hired me within a 90-day period, and those 4 women who were in Isogenics all became 7-figure income earners in a 4-year period that I coached them. So I watched them. One was a waitress, one was a bartender, one was a guidance counselor, and one was a mother of a dentist. So unequivocally, I mean, You can be you, it can be right here, right now, baby, right here, right now this year. And so that means that your habits, to be and stay productive habitually means that you have the habits of, so you have the habits of a 6-figure income earner. You have the habits of a 7-figure income earner. You have the habits of a 5-star. You have the habits of an 8-star. You have the habits of someone who maxes out the compensation plan. I mean, habitually means what you do daily. My day started at 4 o'clock this morning. My first coaching session was 5 a.m. And the woman who I was coaching canceled and she forfeited the call because of whatever she had going on. I answered an email for a woman who wanted me to speak to an heir of Johnson & Johnson. It's been very easy for me to get seducted. Oh my God, this is JoJo, the Indian circus boy. This is going to be someone that's going to buy all his coaching. When I spoke to the man, he was so medicated that he couldn't articulate his feelings. I thanked him and let him go very easily and effortlessly. I mean, that's habitually. I mean, I read the situation for what it is. And that's what you learn to do, is that when you converse with people in being and staying productive, you're able to read the situation for what it is. You don't get attached to people. That term is called non-attachment. Detachment is an indifference. Detachment is when it comes from anger. Non-attachment comes from peace, and you're able to easily and effortlessly let people go. That's part of being and staying productive. You also understand in production where to direct your energy. So you direct your energy where it's going to give you a return on it. You give value, you raise your value. I did a Facebook Live last night that had over 200 comments on it. And I was asking people to do this, raise their value. And so I was asking them to affirm this, raise your value. I mean, raise your value is the mythical, magical, emotional equation. You separate yourself from not deserving to deserving, and you raise your value. You never raise your prices. I mean, your prices can escalate, but it's your value that you raise, that's consciously. And then you can ask and command for a higher fee or for a higher structure. Now, for you to cross that bridge, that means it's going to be your responsibility to have a dialogue with money that's conducive to creating it. So it's real easy to buy, oh my God, gas is $6 a gallon in California, and there's going to be food shortages, and oh my God, no one's going to buy. I mean, you can get into this reptilian brain, the brain that sees lions and tigers and sees all the danger and all the other situations that are happening, or you can be right here, right now, and you can focus on this, the solution. You can focus on results. You can focus on being and staying productive. You can focus on developing your team. You can focus on leading by example. And then you mentor the law of the few people who are going where you're going. So in the term belief, now belief means sense of certainty. And what will allow you to be and stay productive is your belief. If you are in disbelief, non-belief, if you aren't certain, then you'll procrastinate. You'll get ready to get ready. What is belief? Well, belief is a biochemical energy that you live in a place called know. And people go, well, can you explain how you know? Well, actually, it's not explainable, because when you know, you know. If you have to explain no, then you're in your analytical egoic mind. The only answer for how you know is that you know. You can't explain knowing. And so knowing is part of being and staying productive. Well, how'd you become a 7-figure income earner? I knew that I could do it. That's the answer. Then there's the steps on the journey that you go through, but it's imperative that you know that first and you see it happen before it happens. That's a major component of being and staying productive. The reason that people aren't productive, number one, is they have anxiety about the outcome that has not happened. That's the number one reason. That's called a story. Large percent of the world has a story about the outcome that hasn't happened, and that is called what if. So if you're in this what if consciousness, if you're in this, I'm not certain, well, that's why you procrastinate.
Yeah, I'm just going back out and listen to this call.
What does it mean to be and stay productive? It means that you have a routine, you have a system, you have an organized way that you go about being a business owner. Now, in your own network marketing and direct sales business, that's up for you to determine. So if you have children, you have a job, you have a career, I mean, that may limit some of your ability to produce, but it's going to be your responsibility to borrow time from other areas and leverage that. So if you want to be a full-time network marketer, if you want to be full-time in Isogenics, full-time in your team, that's going to be your responsibility to figure out how to leverage that time. I have seen multiple women do it. I've watched multiple, countless women who do not have PhDs. They do have a public high school diploma. They do not have education, although I've seen women with education and PhDs and master's degrees break through, but that's really up to you. Education is not important in this business. What is important is that you master the skills, the habits, and the mindset of being an entrepreneur in free enterprise, specifically in network marketing, in a company, Isogenics, in your team, from the comfort of your home. And that's what it is. So what happens to many people when they start a business in their home, they're overwhelmed. They don't have someone telling them what to do. They're not directed. It's going to be your responsibility to be self-directed. And that means that you have a structured, dedicated block of time. You won't be able to wing it. You're not going to be able to make the phone calls in the bathroom stall in between. I mean, you might do that occasionally, but that's not really the ideal situation. The ideal situation is to have dedicated blocks of time, focused your energy on what's going to bring you the greatest return on it. That would be prospecting, team building, lead generation, and closing sales for your team, and doing the effort, the energetic effort that's going to bring you the greatest return on your energy, ROE. And then return on time is underneath that. But the energy that you bring into the time will dictate whether you're productive or whether you're non-productive. So what many people do is they step into production with anxiety, and then that anxiety it negates the purpose. So the purpose is to become skilled, and the skill that you require to learn is the reflexes of communication, asking the questions in the sequence, being able to effectively interview people in a very relaxed body, hearing what is meant, not what is said. So when someone says, yeah, I'm going to get back to you, what does that actually mean? Y-E-A-H, I'm going to get back to you. Typically it means I want out of this conversation. And the more you understand that, the less likely you are to feel attached to that situation. So you can let people go easily and effortlessly. What is productive is being able to qualify someone for your time in a few minutes. What is not productive is talking to someone for an hour or two, doing all this explaining the pay plan, the reverse upside down situation of what happens in the right leg, the left leg, the ingredients of the product, and all these other situations. What's productive is being able to direct people to a series of videos. What is productive is to be able to do a three-way call and close the sale in 3, 5, 10 minutes. When I was a full-time network marketer, my three-way calls were never an hour like this often. Like that would be zero, like never. My three-way calls were never 30 minutes. My three-way calls were never 20 minutes. I never explained the pay plan in the industry. I never understood every pay plan. I didn't have to understand the pay plan. What I required to know was how I got paid. That the pay plan, there were people who knew the pay plan upside down and left. That was not me, baby. I knew how to get paid. That was much more important to me than understanding the mechanics. I'm not a mechanical person, although I have a high IQ, but I never focused on that. I focused on production. And so production is what's going to pay the freight. That's what will allow you to quit your job. That's what will allow you to live the good life. That's the 5-figure income. So when you're productive, you can teach production, but you can't teach procrastination. If you're a procrastinator, an avoider, you'll attract your reality to the same situation. You'll duplicate procrastination. Production, you can duplicate production, especially when it's streamlined, when you have a system, when it's simple, when it's easy. And that's the whole purpose, is to create the ease of the business that anyone can do it. I coach a 17-year-old young man who's in sales, and he hired me with his own money. I've coached an 18-year-old man who hired with his own money. There's a man right now, Desiree, you know him, he went on to be a 7-figure income earner in real estate. He just referred me 2 leads 2 weeks ago. And I mean, both leads that he referred me hired me. I met him when he was 20 years old on the campus of Delaware in Newark, Delaware in 2014. I mean, he's productive. That's 7 figures at 20, in his late 20s. That's amazing. I mean, all of you could do this if you would be and stay productive. So how do I? Well, it's not a how do I, it's an I am state. So you take any day and you take that day down and you time block that day. You break that day down and you break that day down. Okay, so I have this many hours that I'm working my job. I have this many hours with my children. I'm exercising. Okay, you break that day down. You can't do this by winging it. That's what many people do, is they try to wing it. Well, you can't be productive by winging it. If you're going to exercise, don't try and fit it in. Exercise at a set time. If you're going to prospect, that's dedicated time. And you want to spend less time training and more time producing. I see so many people, they're training and they're training and they're training and they're training. Well, where's the production? I mean, where are the closed sales? Where's the team you're building? It doesn't come from training, it comes from production. And then that production is streamlined. It means that you become very efficient and very methodical at the same time about the communication. You don't spend time with the wrong people. You don't waste time. I mean, if you look at the average person, how much of their life is wasted getting ready to get ready, being overwhelmed? When you're walking down the street with your dog in any neighborhood, USA or Canada, look how many people, when they open their garage, they can't get their car in it. Is that production? Are you fucking kidding me? That's how people live. They live in an overwhelmed state. There's a house across the street from me. It's the house that people can't get the car in. In 22 years that I've lived in my house, it's had 3 owners and no one has been able to get their car. I mean, the house is cursed. I mean, it's the house that Linda, you're watching this. I mean, what the fuck is the deal? I mean, why can't anyone get their car in this specific location? Because it's cursed, because it's the non-production house. I mean, what is the deal with that? See, that's how so many people are, meaning that they can't let go. They live in this, hi, Amanda, good to see you. They live in this overwhelmed state of not being productive. A new neighbor moved in next to me. That dude is productive. I mean, he took a house. I rehabbed a house next to his. I watched him. His father-in-law is a concrete contractor. I mean, they jackhammered the driveway out. They jackhammered the garage out. They're jackhammering the sidewalk out. I did all this. I mean, this is how productive I am. I rehabbed a house, $400,000 rehab, own a 7-figure business, coach 12 to 15 hours a day, rehab that house with the assistance of my assistant, Dylan Albertson, and my wife, Jonna Combs, 9 different contractors. We had to fire 3 of them. I mean, talk about pathological liars. I had some of the contractors I watched, they couldn't keep people employed, but I had to be and stay productive and keep the needle moving, keep the ball moving while leveraging time over here, focus right here. That project is done. Now my focus is all right here. And so that means that's where you learn how to be productive in dedicated blocks of time. I could devote half an hour a day to that house while leveraging my energy through my wife and my assistant, and then staying focused on this business. And people who can do that, you could do that, provided that you have clearly, here's some of the keys to being and staying productive. Clearly defined short-term goals, clearly defined. So right now, I ask every one of my clients that I coach, right? So we're coming up on April 1st. What's important to you in the next 90 days? So that's April, May, June, July. That's the halfway point. If you're in a corporation, the first quarter taxes, second quarter taxes, third quarter tax, I mean, you start to have an understanding of how you create the money in your business. Second quarter, we're about to start that. April, May, June, July ends. That means if you're set a goal and you want to be a 6-figure income earner, or you want to be a 5-star, or you want to be a 6-star, or an 8-star, when you get to July, if you're not halfway there, that's a wish. That's not a commitment. And so you do this one day at a time. What many people do is they try and jam production into the very end. They wait till the last minute. They're like JoJo and Jojette, the Indian circus girl. And then they try and pull it off at the last minute. That's what wingers do. You can't wing this. You have to be systematic, methodical, and organized. How many of you want to be a 7-figure income earner in this business? How many? Raise your hand. How many of you are committing to being a 7-figure income earner in this business? All right. So the first situation you do is you commit to it. You cannot succeed without a commitment. See, interest doesn't count. On the Richter scale of energy, interest calibrates at about 100 cycles a second. Commitment brings you up to 400 cycles a second when measured and muscle tested. There's a huge difference between being interested and being committed. So that's the first situation. And then how long will you commit to this? I mean, how long? So what is realistic? Well, that's really up to you. I mean, I became a 7-figure income earner in a company in less than 2 years. However, what many people didn't know is that I'd been in the industry for 8 years and I had had success every business I'd been in, but I had never made more than $100,000. In a 2-year period, I had a quantum leap, sum greater than whole of parts, 2 plus 2 equaling 16. So that can happen to you, especially in a leveraged business. So you could virtually go from 2-star to 8-star in a calendar year, dependent on this one key equation: who and what. Who and what you attract. Attraction is a skill. Have I covered that already in this? Desiree, I'll cover it in more detail in some of the other calls, but attraction comes from letting go of the feelings you hold on to that keep you in these two situations: trauma bonds and panic patterns. Panic patterns are fight or flight. Trauma bonds are the feelings you hold on to, you're traumatized, that affects your voice, affects your tone, affects your energy. So we're all energetic beings. What's going to attract you to people, to your business, is not how pretty you are, although that can be some, but it's more about how attractive your energy is. So if you're condensed and shut down and closed down, you're overwhelmed, overweight, a lot of debt, all these other situations you're dragging this around in your life. I mean, this is the year to let go. This is you breaking through this year. That's what the content is for here this evening. It's breakthrough content. This is quantum physics that I'm teaching you. I'm teaching you sum is greater than whole of parts. That's how you create the quantum leap. The quantum leap comes from what you do daily over a period of time that begins to compound. And then as this compounds, you start to have a better understanding of understanding. You start to know, you live in the know state. KNOW means your belief changes. Your belief is from a sense of certainty. You know you're going to be a 7-figure income earner. On my wall over my shoulder, right up there. See that guy right up there? I'll point him out. Let's see. He's right up there. His name is Mark Hoverson. Mark unfortunately died in 2018. Right across the street from me, I filmed a video for him in 2007. Mark did his last seminar in 2018 he had stomach cancer. He had 2 people at his last mastermind. And at 40 years old, while Mark was dying, he still had dreams. It took every ounce of energy for him to get dressed, his wife told me. It took every ounce of energy for him to get dressed. His last mastermind that he did in Nantucket, there were 2 people there, and I coached one of those people last hour. Her name was Andrea Delane, and she told me what a courageous man Mark was, and that at 40 years old, while he was dying, he still had dreams. His name's Mark Hoverson. Look him up on Facebook. He's a remarkable man. He became a 7-figure income earner over a 5-year period that I knew him between 2006 and 2011. Wrote several books, became a man of influence and affluence, became a superstar internet marketer, and he's one of those people that God just his time was up. He was so committed. He hired me in 2006 with money in an envelope. He was a youth pastor in Kansas City, and he hired me with money that he didn't have. He used his rent money, and his wife was very upset with him. Well, that was a breakthrough factor for him. I was a significant person for him in his life at that time frame, and he had that inner edge. He's from a small city in North Dakota, Grand Forks, North Dakota. I mean, small city, like 20,000 people. And I mean, it's so cold up there. It's cold up there. I mean, any one of you could do this. This is what inspires you. This is what you have to have that. That's what gets you up in the morning. It's not to build the business. That's the mechanics. It's the good life. That's why you're building the business, so I can live a good life. I had the privilege of sharing the stage with the great Jim Rohn 5 times. I'm not saying I saw him 5 times. I shared the stage with him. And Jim Rohn used to ask this question at events. He would ask this and he'd go, what constitutes the good life? And that's really what you start to answer for yourself. What constitutes the good life? Yes, I know it's challenging out in the world today. Cost of gas, food. I mean, you know what it is. You know exactly what it is. But network marketing is still as pure as it is today as it was when I joined the industry in 1998. And actually, it's so much better. I mean, you're right here, you're right now. This is the time for you to escalate your energy. This is the time for you to next level it. This is the one industry that you can create from the comfort of your home, never leave your home, and create a 6-figure income and a 6-figure lifestyle with the potential of creating a 7-figure income and a 7-figure lifestyle from the comfort of your home office. I'm in my home office right here. It's filled with pictures of my clients on the wall. You can see behind me. These are people who I coached over a 24-year period. I've actually coached 17,000 clients, 70,000 hours one-on-one. And I've seen people just absolutely with some of the worst situations overcome them. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to be at rock bottom to do this, but it's important that you be and stay productive. And whether that's 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week, that's up to you. But being productive becomes a habit. So it's called production consciousness. I've done seminars on this very topic, production consciousness. It means you live in the solution. It means that you don't live in the problem. You focus on results for yourself and other people. You're closing sales for yourself and you close sales for others. You learn how to teach the business and you start to lead by example. Then you mentor a few people. That's the extra energy, the extra time that you devote to the people that have that it factor and you feel it. And some of those people, you can have a huge impact on their life by your production habits. You will impact this many people by being a procrastinator. You'll impact this many people by being an avoider. You'll attract this many people by whining and complaining, because the energy that transmutes off that energy is not attractive. What's attractive are people that have charisma, that have the fucking juice, that have the joy. They transmute the joy, the love that they have for people, the love for their country, their passion. That's people feel that. People can feel a poser. They can feel when someone's fake. But when you're genuinely inspired, people feel it, and that inspires them. And that's how you change who and what you attract. When you're in your head, overwhelmed, analyzing in your analytically egoic brain, thinking and processing and getting ready to get ready and analyzing and getting trained and training the trainer and doing all this training, that's not production. That's education. That education becomes medication, because what happens is people get intoxicated by that. But when you've become inspired, that's inspiration. That's the difference. That's the magic elixir. That's what takes you to the LOP, the land of promise. And when you start to live in that energy, that is called consciousness. Consciousness is understanding. It's knowing. And knowing is belief. The one situation that I'm compelling you to understand tonight is your belief will make or break you. If you don't believe that you're good enough, then you're not good enough. In a gray world, this becomes black and white. You either are or you aren't. And you don't have to have, you can have zero in your bank account. The creditor's calling, pennies in your pocket. This is a Jim Rohn quote. Zero in your bank account, creditors calling, way behind in your dreams. But if you have belief, you can overcome that. But you can't let the circumstances be your identity. When you let the circumstances of your life become the identity, then you're living in anxiety, fear, and doubt. And you will have challenges overcoming that until you let go, which is the separation from the feelings and the facts that will allow you to be and stay productive. Desiree, I'm going to go ahead and pass the call back to you. I want to thank you for allowing me to be here with you this evening.
Thank you, Jeff. Jeff, are you opening up for questions?
I am open to receive.
If anybody has a question, ask now.
Ask, and I will deliver. Go ahead, ask. Avery, I see you. Ask freely. This is your opportunity. Hi, Rebecca. How are you? Rebecca, good to see you. Hi, Cassie. Cassie, the fortune hunter. The gallery is there. Doyle, my boy, how are you?
Very good.
Anyone have a question for me?
Or comment? You gave great content, Jeff, so no one has any questions. You hit it all.
Yeah, Jeff, this is Don. I'll see you Wednesday night.
Don, good to see you. Don, you're crushing it on Facebook. I mean, your posts in the gym are crushing it, Don.
Thanks.
John,
I like what
Don,
you said.
Are you 47, Don? Answer the question,
it.
Don.
Thank
Don't
you.
check out.
I am not 47, no.
That's a compliment. You look it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Cassie, how are you? Cassie, how are you?
I'm doing well, Jeffrey. Thank you.
Doyle, my boy, how are you? I miss coaching you, Doyle.
You're doing amazing.
What do you guys like to do for fun? That is anywhere? I can't.
All right, well, I'm gonna dash. So Jenny, awesome, good to see you. Did I see Pete Kaufman? Amanda, how are you? Amanda Weger, good to see you. All right, well, I'm going to run. Thanks, Desiree. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Have a great night,
Guys, I
everyone.
want to say thank you so much for bringing this call to fruition.